Hey everybody, this is Steve from GamersNexus.net, and this is Saturday Heat Signature Episode 7, where we are going to talk about the indie action title Waveform. It is actually a very cool title. They label it as casual as well, but it is a pretty challenging game, so I don't know that most casual players would like it. But if you are a completionist, if you love challenge games, and if you love games like platformers, then you would probably really like Waveform. So let's talk a little bit about what it is. What we see right now, we are flying through the solar system in space, obviously, and the game is you're playing as a particle of light essentially, and your goal is to navigate your beam of light through space and collect different orbs that are scattered throughout the area. And you can use all kinds of objects out in space to your advantage, like mirrors, and you have to avoid things like dark matter, which will of course affect your light negatively. So it is a space game. You do go through the solar system. Your objective is to bring your light to the sun, our sun of course, and you are also discovering the mysteries that are causing different troubles in the solar system, like distortion of one of Pluto's moons or stuff like that. It is again very challenging puzzle sort of action element game. So your light particle, you need to adjust your trajectory using the mouse. You drag it left and right to increase the wavelength, you drag it up and down to increase or decrease the amplitude, and your goal is to just adjust this trajectory, adjust your wave so that it will line up with all the orbs scattered through space, and you pick them up. And it's actually a lot harder than that, though. It sounds pretty easy and it looks pretty easy on the screen, but the way the orbs are scattered is actually very well done by the game designer or the level designer or whomever worked on those maps, because it's not perfectly lined up. So you might line up your path perfectly, you couldn't do it any better for a huge cluster of orbs, and then the next one is just slightly off, and so you have to panic and readjust your path and try and intercept those as well. And if you screw up your path, then there's very little chance you'll recover it. So you have to make the split-second decision: do I abandon this cluster of orbs and try to regroup on the next one, or do I try to salvage these orbs and then still try to get the next ones? Very tough decision, and that's what makes the game so hard. It does take some quick thinking, even though it starts off a little slow. But on that note, I would like to add that there is no tutorial really for this game other than a couple of screens with text. It drops you straight into the action, which personally I love. I feel like tutorials can be insulting sometimes in games where you really just want to get to playing right away. You don't need a whole bunch of hand-holding. But this game definitely drops you in, and it does a very good job of it too, and it does a great job of ramping you up. Throughout the game, throughout each level, there are many objectives. Of course, the primary objective is to get to the end of the level and get out through the wormhole, I suppose. I'm not sure what the proper name is, but there is we'll call it a wormhole at the end of the level. You get out through it, and throughout the level there are many objectives like collecting rings that are scattered throughout there, and they will give you multipliers for when you're picking up different colored orbs. Of course, your overall goal is to just get the most points and to accumulate points, and you can either sort of play against yourself, against your own records, or you can get on the world leaderboards. And that's really fun with these types of games because it gives you something to really work at, and you can play it sort of against your friends and compare scores and stuff like that. You know these types of games pretty well, just as all of us do. So there are some bonus levels other than the ones I'll show some right now. Actually, there's a distortion effect level which is on one of the moons, and that distortion just completely messes up how easy or how hard it is to see the orbs, because it sort of makes it actually reminds me a lot of Yoshi's story, where Yoshi eats, or Yoshi's Island maybe, where Yoshi eats one of the pink floating flowers and he gets all drugged. That is exactly what this looks like to me. I don't know if anyone else has seen that, but it is a pretty cool level and it does mix things up. We also have another distortion type level where there's a pulsing light visibility, so the light is visible. You can see all of the orbs for just a few seconds. You gotta line up your path perfectly, and then the screen goes black and it comes back, and you have a second to see, what did I get? Do I need to adjust my path? Very challenging level. So again, if you like challenging games, this is your thing to play, and it's only a couple bucks. Let me check. It's actually $6 on Steam right now, so an easy pickup. Really though, the beauty of the game is in its gameplay mechanics and the way you use the mouse to adjust wavelength and amplitude so you can achieve those objectives, so you can get all those orbs. It is pretty hard actually, but it is a great game. I have trouble relating the gameplay to any other game out there, which is good because that means it is unique. I think the closest I could do is say it's some kind of weird mix between Audio Surf and Guitar Hero and and platformers, something like that, if that makes any sense to you. But again, getting back to mechanics, there are all kinds of different elements to interact with in the levels. It does as I said before, a very good job at dropping you in slowly and really ramping up the difficulty over time, and eventually working you out to be a very good player, but it does take some time to get to that point. So some of the stuff you might interact with, you can use mirrors to bounce off of. You break the mirror and it'll bounce you and give you kind of a second, kind of like a double jump in your arc. There are also clouds that refract. There's dark matter that when you collide with dark matter, it will destroy all the orbs around you and sort of invalidate that path you were on. So very tough to work in between dark matter spots and the actual orbs. That is just one of the many obstacles in the game, aside from space mines, which are another huge annoyance. But at the end of every level, or at the end of every planet I should say, each planet in our solar system is broken up into several levels where you have to sort of work your way through the orbit, I'm going to call it, of the planet, and eventually you hit some of the moons and stuff like that. And each moon, of course, is a bonus level, as I said earlier, and each planet has, at the very end level, an event horizon that chases you, which makes it much harder to complete, or much harder to win, and really makes it that much more pressure to get all the orbs and get out of that level as soon as possible. So again, there is not a whole lot more to say. It is a very challenging game, but that's really the point of it, is to be challenging, to really push you as a player to become better at this game. There isn't a huge story, there's a little bit, but that's not the reason you play a game like this. So again, let's recap here. If you like platformers, if you like games that require a little bit of thinking but aren't quite a puzzle game, and if you like action games that can be very fast and challenging, and you don't get super frustrated and throw your keyboard easily, then I would say this is your kind of game. It's only a couple bucks, and it is a space-themed game, so that's another bonus for those of us that like space-themed games, which is really what pulled me on in the first place. It all comes down to just moving your mouse to set up those perfect paths. So I guess actually you could say that it's sort of related to Tetris in that way, where you're just trying to fit things in, but not so much. Anyway, I think that's all for now, everyone, so catch us next time, and please subscribe if you like this video, like it if you like this video, and of course leave comments if you have any questions at all about the game. I will get back to you and let you know whatever you want to know. So catch us next time. I'll have Saturday Heat Signature episode 8 next week, and then we have PAX coming up, I believe, in 2 weeks now, so we will be at PAX East with several people, which means I might not get a Heat Signature up on that Saturday, but I will try nonetheless. So I will catch you guys next time. Peace.